the internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Tonight, the Caribbean, like much of the world, is confronting pressure on multiple fronts. In the Bahamas, voters are now deciding who they trust to lead the country through economic uncertainty, immigration pressure, and rising global instability. Here in Jamaica, a different kind of national debate is underway. Not about politics, but about culture, identity, and whether there should be limits when national folk heritage is reimagined for modern entertainment. And later, as the war in Iran shows no signs of ending, Jamaican manufacturers are counting the cost. But could this global disruption also be Jamaica's opening? I'm Jody Ann Quarry, and this is Lead Story's Global Lead. The Bahamas is voting today, and we have been watching this election build up from the ground. Before the first ballot was cast, the story in the Bahamas was already complicated. Questions about trust, transparency, and the introduction of brand new biometric voting technology were casting a shadow over the campaign. Our reporter Moy Harriet was already on the ground in Nassau tracking it. Let's hear from her.
Since arriving here in Nassau a couple hours ago, it's almost impossible to miss the election fever. On my drive from the airport, I observed campaign posters lining the main streets, from taxis to stores. People are talking politics. Now, Prime Minister Philip Davis called an early election, sending voters to the polls this Tuesday, May 12, with 41 seats now up for grabs after 2 new constituencies were recently added to that list. Now, I've actually spoken to a few locals about what they're expecting going into Tuesday's elections.
Well, I don't care who wins. The reason why I don't care who wins, because guess what? Every morning I still have to get up and go to work. Now, I can tell you one thing. I think it's time for a change. We need to have the PLP or the FNM, whoever they may be, go, and we have a new political party take over the country.
I think Tuesday election should be 50-50.
What makes you say that?
Because it looks so close. Seems to be pretty close.
Regardless who wins, it's about the Bahamian people. It's not about a party. It's not about the self-interest. It's just about the people, the nation.
Now, more than 209,000 Bahamians are registered to vote, and for the first time in the country's history, biometric voter cards will be introduced in the country. Now, the government has said that the cards are meant to modernize the electoral system and strengthen verification, but the opposition has argued that the changes being rolled out just too close to election day. Now, the Bahamas joins a growing number of Caribbean countries exploring biometric identification systems for elections and national security purposes. Now, the main battle right now is between the governing Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, the opposition Free National Movement, FNM and the Coalition of Independents, also known as COI, which has been gaining attention during this campaign. Now, if the PLP pulls off a win, it would mark the first time in nearly 30 years that the party has won 2 consecutive terms in office in the Bahamas. But analysts say that this race is expected to be far closer than the 2021 election, which was the last election here in the country. Now, the major issues dominating the vote or the campaign for this period are issues like the high cost of living, crime, corruption, and pretty much the overall state of the economy. Now, there have been concerns about election integrity, which is now taking center stage during the elections. And as such, there are international observers who've been brought in to monitor the process on Tuesday. Now, of course, countries like Jamaica and the wider Caribbean are watching the election closely, as the outcome could have serious implications for matters like regional trade, security, migration, and also how Caribbean governments approach issues like electoral reforms and the rising cost of living, which we see happening right across the globe. And of course, I'll be here on the ground bringing you the latest updates in our subsequent newscasts. Reporting from Nassau, Bahamas, I'm Amoy Harriet for CVM News.
That's Amoy there on the ground talking us through what's going on the ground in the Bahamas. But by Monday afternoon, yesterday, with less than 24 hours before polls opened, the streets of Nassau were telling their own story. Amoy went directly to Bahamian voters to find out where their loyalties actually lay and whether the tightening race the polls were projecting was actually bearing out on the ground.
Everywhere you go, all over Russia, down in Ukraine, high cost of living, high price of gasoline. Everybody done know.
So it's election eve, the day before the elections here in the Bahamas, and the race is heating up between the Progressive Liberal Party, PLP, the Free National Movement, FNM, and the Coalition of Independents, COI. Now, of course, I had to come out into the streets of downtown to speak to residents and locals about who they think will be victorious after polls close come tomorrow.
Oh my God, in the name of Jesus, the PLP have it. The PLP have it. But the FNM thought they have it. And what the other fellow's name again?
COI?
The COI. Give him a chance. Give him a chance.
I was born and raised in a PLP home, and like they say, only your father and mother, and the days will be long. I'm related to oppositions, but no disrespect. My father is PLP, so I'm going with PLP, you know.
I truly would like a better opposition. I would like to see COI win some seats, COI. Yeah, because I feel like they fight for the people more than any other party, and then they are new breed, so they have something to prove.
At this stage in my life and at this age, I don't have no confidence in the politicians that we have, to be honest with you.
FNM all the way. FNMs all the way. FNMs.
To me, it looks like the PLP.
Why?
That's what it looked like.
What make you say that?
I'm just looking at the crowd. I mean, but the crowd don't mean anything, but I think the PLP.
I would say FNM. I don't want the PLP win because they had too many chances to make the country better. We need a upper game. We need people who care about the Bahamians.
Brave, Davis, and Chester for the 2-time Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister. Choose progress.
I don't care as long as it ain't PLP or FNM. Give somebody else a chance.
Pour l'élection de M. Devlé, groupe moi pense qu'a gagné c'est PLP parce que moi yo quittant devant tout l'autre groupe yo, so c'est PLP me pense qu'a gagné élection ça.
So that was Amoy Harriet on the ground there in Nassau, Bahamas, finding out what people were thinking. But then this morning was polling day. The polls closed in the Bahamas 1 hour ago. But this morning, when they went to the polls, officials reported an incident-free start. Voters turned out early, and Amoy was at the polling stations as history began to be made. Would a party see 2 back-to-back wins since Hubert Ingram became Prime Minister of the Bahamas?
So the polls have officially opened and have been since around 8 o'clock this morning in the 2026 elections here in the Bahamas. Now, I visited a few polling stations since morning, and the atmosphere here on the ground has been relatively calm, relatively quiet. The most common response or comment I've been getting from persons who've been coming to these polling stations to cast their vote is that this time around, this year, the voting process has actually been a lot smoother than in previous elections.
It was smooth, it was cordial, and it was efficient and quick.
Process was good, smooth, and no problem. In and out, like she said. You know, the process was really improved this year.
It was quite easy. We were able to walk right on, basically walk right out.
It's pretty smooth today. No line, no hiccups, no nothing. That's pretty smooth.
So the polls are closing today at 6 o'clock, and I'll be visiting a few other constituencies throughout the course of the day to find out what's happening on the ground, especially considering that biometric cards, like I've told you in previous reports, is being introduced for the first time in the country. And of course, after the closing of the polls, I'll still be on the ground to find out which party will be forming the next government, and I'll have that update for you a little later on during the day. Reporting for CVM News, I'm Amoy Harriet here on the ground in Nassau, Bahamas.
So that's Nassau from the perspective of Amoy, who's there live on the ground, giving us commentary about what's going on as they go through their elections. Now, polls have since closed. We're about an hour after polls closing. No word yet as to the outline of the seats. But here's where we are right now. Since the last elections that were held in 2021, Philip Davies and the PLP have won 32 seats. The FNM now has 7 seats. That's the opposition. And as you heard Amoy say earlier in the package, 2 additional seats have now brought the seat count from 39 to 41. This will be a big decision, though, that the Bahamas has to make, because they're looking inside a global context to making it. And the question that's been on the lips of all regional watchers this evening is not simply who will win. It's that this result will tell us something about the state of democracy in the Caribbean at this moment. Because we've seen elections over the past year and a half that have shifted the way CARICOM works and the Caribbean moves. Trinidad and Tobago, Antigua. Trinidad and Tobago changed government, Antigua stayed the same, but now we have the Bahamas. Government after government being put to the test by voters who are tired. We see things becoming more expensive and who are asking whether the people they elected have actually been working for them. And so we're watching to see what happens now. You just heard the opposition is hoping to get more seats, the FNM. You heard Philip Davies there hoping to get a second win in a row, something that is quite rare in the Bahamas. But we'll keep you up to date throughout the show if we hear any information as to the seat count there on the ground. That's it for our look at the Bahamas. But up next, we take a look here. What happens if cultural heritage clashes with modernity? We'll have that discussion next inside Lead Story's Global Lead.
Lucozade, bring the energy. Unbeatable taste, new look.
I'm me, the stylist, no scam and style me.
From the market to the farm to the office, money talk is everywhere. But are you making sense or nonsense? The Bank of Jamaica brings you common sense with BOJ. Real stories, real laughs, and real lessons to help you protect, grow, and manage your money. Mattress savings.
At least my mattress, you charge me to sleep on it.
Partner plan.
Remember last year we needed our payouts early? But Miss Pam gave it to her cousin first.
Or a sketchy loan flyer.
Electrifying deals.
See why making the right financial choices is pure common sense. Brought to you by Bank of Jamaica. empowering everyday Jamaicans, one episode at a time.
Grandpa, it's 2026. You can't keep hiding all your money in every single pocket forever.
Jamaica's unemployment rate has fallen to 3.3%, down from 13.2% in 2016. Our government's continued focus on job creation is delivering real results. We are building Jamaica. The time by the Office of the Prime Minister is...
Hill and Gully Rider is a traditional Jamaican folk song that dates the 19th century. This is Mento, its heritage. It is the kind of song that carries in it the memory of who we are as a people. Multi-Grammy award-winning producer Stephen "The Genius" McGregor has revived it as a modern dancehall rhythm. And the lead track, Massacre's Slip and Slide, went straight to #1 on the iTunes Top 100 Reggae Songs chart. The Jamaican Cultural Development Commission, JCDC, called it the soundtrack of a festival summer. Professors and cultural practitioners praised it as a bridge between generations. But not everybody's celebrating. Broadcaster, cultural icon and chair of the Jamaica Information Service, as well as former chair of the JCDC board itself, Faye Ellington, has spoken out, particularly about the sexually explicit content now associated with the rhythm. Earlier today, she spoke with CVM reporter Kevin Black about culture, artistic freedom, and whether Jamaica is now struggling to define its own entity, rather identity, in the digital era. Let's listen.
Veteran broadcaster and cultural commentator Faye Ellington is speaking out against what she describes as the defacing of Jamaican culture through explicit lyrics on the popular Hill and Gully rhythm. The rhythm, produced by Stephen "The Genius" McGregor, has been dominating local music charts and social media, with several artists releasing songs on the project. But Miss Ellington says the use of sexually explicit content over a melody rooted in Jamaican folk heritage is deeply troubling and risks damaging the country's cultural identity. She joins us now. So good evening, Miss Ellington.
Hi, thank you for having me, Kevin.
Okay.
You know the song?
Yes, I do.
See the background reminds me of Hill and Gully background.
That was the intention.
Thank you.
So you have praised Stephen McGregor for
And so I
reviving.
should. And Stephen, want to thank you for being innovative with the rhythm and bringing it to present-day Jamaica and introducing it to many people who did not know it, or sometimes they hear it and don't even think about it. So thank you.
So he revived this mental classic, the Hill and Gully rhythm, and JCDC itself has used the rhythm to promote traditional dances like the Gere and the Dinky Mini ahead of the Grand Gala. Where precisely is the line you see between cultural innovation and cultural desecration?
Let me tell you where the Hill and Gully thing come from. By the way, I was a member of the Jamaican Folk Singers for 1 year, but the value of that year was about 10. The group, the Jamaican, everybody's not Jamaica Folk Singers, was formed by the late Dr. Olive Lewin. And the value of that year was about 10. And in her work, she not only taught the music and the melody and the harmony, but she taught the history. You know where Hill and Gully come from? If you buy her book, you'll see it in there. The Maroons of St. James used it because the place is hilly and have the gully, just like your backdrop there. So the young people, they would use it like sport or athleticism. Hill and Gully ride, oh, and you jump from one, the other Hill and Gully ride, oh, Hill and Gully. So I think if people paid attention to our folk music a little bit more, they would realize it's not just empty. It's not just entertainment, or there's sociology behind it. It's speaking about a time when people had to do certain things or did certain things. So that has legacy, it has heritage, it has history, it's our culture. And I have no problem with what Stephen did in terms of turning that rhythm to us now in present day Jamaica, but Lord of mercy, the nastiness that some of the people who decide to put lyrics on it have done. And it's not just that, it's a troubling thing for me that there is a lack of respect for the people who sing certain things, the gun lyrics, them lift up woman dress all the time, and the women disappoint me because they seem to love it. And something has got to be wrong with that. You know, I'm not asking anybody to ban anybody's music. I'm just saying that we are living in a society. You have family, you have children, you're part of a nation. What are you really promoting? What are you exporting? And people have a way to make noise about people like Shaggy and how them say, no, them have sense. They put music out there that can work anywhere in the world, anytime. So yes, the desecration bothers me, because if you don't understand your history, then you will understand where you're coming from. And you see all of these rhythms, Kevin, you're young, but maybe you know some of it because you mentioned the guarantee. You see, all I dancehall rhythm, if you put on a piece of dancehall rhythm, not any lyrics in here now, I'm going to get up and I'm likely to do the dinky mini. I'm likely to do a Gary move or a Kumina move. But you know where also that rhythm come from? The church. The church with the drum and the that is where it's coming from. But are people not reading, not informing themselves? I saw one comment that says people like myself not sharing the information with people. But I'd like to ask some of you, when the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission is having their various festivals and competitions, do you ever go? Do you ever go to listen? Do you ever go to learn anything? But you claim that you don't, nobody not teaching you, but you're not making yourself available to be taught. Do you read? Do you examine anything? No, you don't.
Okay, so is there a risk that by focusing on the most explicit songs, we dismiss the cultural recovery that the rhythm has clearly achieved?
Of course there's that risk. And I must say that Stephen has been, my YouTube post was shared with him, and he's a decent young man. And he's spoken to it. There is a big, big risk. If all we can think about is sex, nothing wrong with sex, you know, but there's a time and place. I just want to also speak to those people who don't understand double entente or double meaning. When you listen to aspara music like Saltfish, if a child of 6 is standing beside you, that child doesn't know what that is about. And if you listen to Loving Dear, Shortwood, if a child of 6 is standing beside you, that child doesn't know that there's a little bit of something there. I'm just saying we can't be just so in your face with everything and anything and sex and the crassness, and it's just throughout the society. It's not just in music alone. Who are we? We used to be teetering on the edge, you know, but now we're gone over. Who are going to pull me back or what are going to pull me back? And this is not just a responsibility of the dancehall artists. It's not just a responsibility of Faye Ellington and people who think like me. It's the political parties, it's corporate Jamaica who put big bucks out in sponsoring many of these artists. It's those people who produce shows. Man, you make me get enough spirit in that today, you know. We could have gone on and on, you know, Kevin. You know, set right. And nobody tell me say I saw the thing set. You know, half is set, so you can still do your lyrics, you can still enjoy yourself. You can, but the problem is that I'm not thinking no creative, as a young man about 30 said to me. Him say, Auntie Faye, them dance. And in truth and in fact, so if you cannot be a little bit more creative and innovative, then you're dance. And when you look at what Stephen McGregor has done, the genius, that's brilliance. Or folk music and repositioned it, but you go on it with your nastiness. Dance, you dance. Dance.
So it seems like the people who use the rhythm used it irresponsibly. What would a responsible use of a folk rhythm like this look like in the modern age?
You have so much things you can put on it today. I could have even cut, as a matter of fact, I might have cut a tune too. There are so many things you can use to put on that rhythm today. There is no one thing, Kevin. There are things happening around. You could do social commentary on it. You could do political commentary on it. You could talk about whatever, cooking on it. You can do so many things. You can do sports on it. Hilangoli rido, Hilango. See the artist a come there, Hilango. See the athlete a come there, Hilangoli. You understand? Sitina Antia come. You know, there are so many things you can do. You just have to take your head out of the gutter. There's no one. You could have done a song to do with geography on it. You could do a song to do with French or there's so many things you can do. There's no one thing that is correct to be put on a rhythm like that.
I'm glad you mentioned we should take our heads out of the gutter, because it seems like we're deep in it, seemingly. How do we do that? How do we ascend?
Boy, may I tell you, a serious question, Kevin, is no one person's responsibility. And some other people who might be cussing me right now, and I don't read those comments, by the way. I have more creative things that I engage in. But you know that they're likely to do it, but you don't have to go there and everybody has a role to play, and I named some of them already. The politicians, corporate Jamaica, right? The artists, the people in academia, everybody has a role to play. The churches, you know what I hear while I was sitting waiting to come in here? A churchman has done his version of it. Yes, you understand? So there's no one person who has a role to play. We all have to ask ourselves, what is the Jamaica that we want? What do we want it to represent? Is it just gun lyrics? Is it just under woman's skirt lyrics? Is it just gutter lyrics? And nobody tell me say it sell. Nobody tell me that. And about I saw the thing set. Then we just go set so till thy kingdom come? No, man. That can't work. So how, well, no, I better don't do it, because I'm about to turn the tables on your interview. Let me tell you what I was about to ask him. How does he, as a young man, feel about, you know, if I answer it, I'll put it as a rhetorical question. If you're under 30, how you feel about the Jamaica that you are in, and that so many artists have to find their purpose in this kind of degradation and this coarseness and this lewdness. And
that's an excellent point to make, because it seems like a lot of the young people nowadays who are listening to this kind of music do not care much about the cultural background that led to where we are now. How do you think we can get young people more incorporated into the culture and get them more interested and to keep our culture alive?
One of the things that they need to read, but everybody's just taking a 15-second or a 1 minute on a TikTok or on an Instagram. They're not going where they can inform themselves properly. I don't know, how many of our young people visit the Institute of Jamaica? How many of our young people go to see the Jamaican folk singers when they perform, or the Carib folk singers, or the Hatfield singers? And nobody tell me say that nobody not is out there. You just have not made yourself available to find it and associate with it. And you have recordings of these things. Some of them are on YouTube too, and Uncle Nasness, they're all over a place. So find them. And I don't know, it is just very distressing that the nation is in the state that it's in. That our entertainment, popular entertainment, is in the state that it's in.
Okay. So you've said these songs are defacing Jamaican culture.
It's not the songs, it's the lyrics that people put to the rhythm.
Lyrics that people put to the rhythm, right? So why do you believe this issue goes beyond just music or just entertainment? Because a lot of people are maybe saying that it's not literal, it's just entertainment, so people are probably wondering, what's the big deal?
It's not just entertainment, you know. When you speak about women in a particular way, and that's the only way you can address the woman and her womanhood, you know there's something wrong with you and something wrong with that woman to accept it. And I know that a lot of women accept that kind of treatment. They are the ones railing in at the dance hall. They are the ones, well, I heard a version by a woman, by the way, and I went into, I said, oh my God, I had to listen to it twice. It's not necessary. Bedroom business is bedroom.
That right there was an important conversation about culture, responsibility, and whether we as a Jamaica are carrying some national symbols that require a different level of care. Our thanks to Faye Ellington for speaking with us and to Kevin Black for that interview. To tie in some things together though, this week, a billboard in Eastern Kingston also sparked public conversation about the boundaries of sexual expression in public spaces in Jamaica. And the question Ms. Ellington is really putting on the table, the one that connects the rhythm, the billboard, and the broader cultural moment, is this. Well, is Jamaica a sexually conservative society that has simply stopped enforcing its own standards? Or are we a society whose standards have genuinely shifted and the institutions designed to hold the line have not caught up? Stay with us some more inside Lead Story's Global Lead.
Jamaica. Make we do the right thing. Make we live good today for a better tomorrow. Talk it out. Don't fight it out. The time by the Ministry of National Security is
6:30.
Lucozade, bring the energy. Unbeatable taste, new look.
Every dream conquered is another dream gained. I land and I fly again like a jet plane. Headed straight in your direction. 'Cause I'm wiser, one step closer. I'm winning 'cause I work so hard. And the music keeps on playing, and the people never say we are mash up the night. Oh, what a feeling! Don't stop dreaming. Keep on believing in the power of the feeling. Whatever you want, take a chance. Song in your heart, step in your dance. You got a spark, don't put it down. Shine your lights
The war in Iran is now in its 11th week, and it has done something no single conflict has done in the modern era. The International Energy Agency has described the closure of the Strait of Hormuz as the largest supply disruption in the history of the global oil market. The war in Iran might be thousands of miles away, but its effects could very soon be felt directly here in Jamaica. Oil prices, shipping costs, manufacturing expenses, and food prices are now all under pressure as global markets respond to the possibility of a prolonged conflict. But there's another side to the story. The fracturing of global supply chains is driving North American companies to look closer to home for manufacturing partners. Jamaica is 4 hours from the United States East Coast. We have a free zone and that infrastructure. We have CARICOM preferential trade access. And we have a labor cost advantage over many of the alternatives. The question is whether Jamaica is ready to catch that opportunity before it passes. Joining us now is Catherine Silvera, President of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, the JMEA. President Silvera, thanks for joining us once again.
Thank you for having me, Jodian. It's a pleasure to be here as always.
Glad to have you here. Not so happy to hear what you have to talk to us about right now because we are watching increases in prices. We're hearing more to come. How concerned is the JMEA right now about the possibility of a prolonged Iran conflict and its impact on Jamaica's economy?
I think that, our members are concerned, and I think businesses in general, and not just for Jamaica. The longer this conflict goes on, is the more sustained the pricing is going to be at a high level. It's the longer that it's going to take to come down. It is the longer that it can affect supply chain challenges in terms of sourcing raw materials, shipping logistics, packaging costs going up as well. So I think there's a number of repercussions that have occurred and will continue to occur because of this conflict. And really, we're not no closer to understanding when it's or if it will end. So it is a challenge, I think, for us in Jamaica and for manufacturing in general.
You're dealing with that at the same time you're dealing with challenges at home. Let's talk about the special consumption tax on sugary drinks. That's now in effect, something you've spoken to us about, and beverage manufacturers are among your members. What's the immediate impact? This tax being absorbed by producers, passed on to consumers. Is that what's happening, or both? And looking at all that's going on in the world right now, is this the right moment in the middle of an energy-driven cost of living crisis for the government to be adding a new production cost onto the sector?
Thank you for that. Yes, the beverage manufacturers would be facing increases because of the SCT that came into effect on the 1st of May. Some of our manufacturers have, declared a 7% increase, up to some instances 40%. It really depends on the amount of sugar that is in the beverage. And we are glad that the government did take our advice and tax the quantity of added sugar and not just a straight across the board tax. So the more sugar the beverage has is the more tax. And so consumers can be guided by that to make better decisions. And it is meant to be a pass along tax because it's to be a behavioral tax. So it is to add that cost on to the consumer so that they can now make behavioral changes. The government doesn't have a crystal ball, and so I think if they did and they understood that this conflict was coming, they may not have needed to implement this tax because the gas tax, of course, is bringing in some revenue for the government right now with the gas prices increases, the barrel oil prices increasing. So it is a very challenging situation for manufacturers because you're talking about a lot of your inputs increasing. So we spoke about the fact that freight costs are going up because they of course use oil or fuel to move the ships around. You have transportation costs going up because you have to transport your goods from manufacture to the end consumer. You're talking about if it is that you're a food processor, then fertilizer and pesticides have gone up as they are byproducts of these petroleum products. So that is going to be added cost to the farmers, which is going to pass on in terms of raw material cost to food processors, food manufacturers. And then you're talking about plastic packaging, which makes up a number of our packaging for manufacturing, and plastic is a byproduct of petroleum as well. So with those prices going up, then plastic packaging is going up. So that is what we are starting to see in Jamaica now, is the manufacturers passing on some of those pricing. And I'm seeing that it's starting now, because you saw that Grace Kennedy announced some price increases, Lasco, Wisynco, Seprod, and Jamaica Flour Mills most recently announced some price increases. As medium to large manufacturers, we are going to look to see how long can we possibly absorb some of these input increases, because it is difficult to decrease your price once you've increased it for certain manufactured products.
Because there's one brand, Devon Biscuits has said that they're decreasing their prices during this time. One of very few that have said just during this time where we're seeing increases from other brands, they can go down. So it's not impossible, perhaps difficult, but not impossible.
Correct. It's not impossible. And as you know, they were about into the 8th week of this conflict.
11th.
And you will just now, 11th week, thank you. So you're just now seeing some price increases, and some of it, especially from most of the manufacturers that I stated, most of the increase is coming from the SCT and not necessarily the other input costs, because as I said, it's hard to lower your price. When I say that, it's not, to get it to the end consumer, it's kind of difficult to lower your price all the way. Sometimes retailers take on an added margin instead of lowering the price. So it is a challenge sometimes to lower the price. That's why you'll find a lot of companies announce it in the media.
So that they'll tell you that, okay, your supermarket isn't price gouging you. This is actually an increase that you're legitimately seeing.
Correct. And same way for the decreases as well. That's why Devon Biscuits has announced it too. You want your end consumers to go and call for that reduction on the shelf.
Well, you're looking for those prices. It's important that the JMEA stands with its members and says, honestly, we're dealing with it. We've been absorbing. But at this point in time, we have to pass the costs along. But you've also, as an organization, said, hold on now, it's perhaps not all doom and gloom. You said there might be a silver lining, some opportunity here? Because the Iran war and the broader geopolitical conflict here does allow for some innovation, some accelerating of what economists call nearshoring. It's the movement of manufacturing and assembly closer to where it's needed, in this case, North America's end market. And Jamaica, we're right next door, a couple of hours away. We have cheap labor, we have free zone infrastructure. So talk to us. Is Jamaica actually positioned to capture some of that nearshoring investment? And if so, which sectors could be the ones that would be able to jump on board?
Definitely. I think that all sectors should be looking to these opportunities. That's something, whenever problems occur, we should be looking for solutions and opportunities and not dwelling in the problem. I'm going to give you an example. When COVID hit, and you know that in the United States there was toilet paper shortages. Our manufacturers of toilet paper exported to the United States during that time because of the shortages that were happening. So there is certainly opportunities in this instance for Jamaican manufacturers and service providers to provide nearshoring opportunities and to tap into export markets, not just in North America, but in Central and South America too.
The cost of energy, though, is one of the big bugbears for manufacturers locally. And if we decide that we want to ramp up and do more, we have to deal with the price of our own electricity here. That's one of the big things. Talk to us. Is that going to be a liability if we start looking at being able to service near markets like the United States or other North American markets like Canada or Mexico? Or is this something that we can certainly work on if we put our minds to it?
Well, we need to put a lot of our minds to lowering the energy costs. It is certainly something that is a concern, not just for manufacturers, but you and I as Jamaicans, we have to pay our electricity bill every month. And so it is something that we are in dialogue with JPS on. They are a member of ours, and we do have an energy committee at the GMEA. So we have been meeting with them. We have been speaking about how we can assist in advocating for them in terms of elements that they need from the government, and also advocating for our members in terms of the energy costs and switching or moving to more renewables, to seeing how the energy costs can be lowered. And it is something that we have to achieve as a country. Our neighboring countries, Domrep, Trinidad, they have much lower energy costs than us, and we need to get to energy costs of, let's say, 12 US cents per kilowatt hour to really be truly competitive with our other Caribbean nations.
Well, just finally closing out with you, we look like we're going to be dealing with shock after shock after shock. Are we, are you, are your members prepared to be dealing with shock after shock after shock? Melissa, now this, now what else could be coming?
Yes, we are, and it's not new. There have been shocks over the last 10 years. I think we could name so many. You had COVID, you had global supply chain challenges, logistics challenges, you had Beryl, Melissa, you had Holy Rain after Beryl, and now this conflict. You had the Russia-Ukraine war in 2022, which also shot some oil prices up and had provided challenges as well with logistics. I think that's a new norm in this new world, and we are ready. And as an association, we do have workshops. We're actually having a Manufacturer 360 conference next week, Wednesday at AC Marriott, where we're going to be touching on business continuity plans, how to insure your business properly, your manufacturing factory properly. We're talking about supply chain logistics and forward buying and forward planning. We're talking about a number of things. So we are the association to be able to bring that information to our members and help to guide them.
Well, they certainly do need that guidance during these difficult times, and you as president are going to be able to provide it. Catherine Silvera, president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, thank you for joining us inside Lead Story's Global Lead.
Thank you for having me.
Now we're going to watch 3 stories tonight, big stories that you need to know. Up next.
No, brother, no. I'm not that.
You don't see you ever play ref? No, game,
yeah, but I look a ball game. No, I said, place when you come from, brother, I want to live good, man. I want to live good, bredgin. No shake on, I can play a little ball, bredgin.
Really have to shake on?
Yeah, man, and no badness, bredgin. Just live good, man.
I make the violence done.
The internationally acclaimed On Stage with Winford Williams.
At a new time, Saturdays at 8 p.m. on CVM TV.
So much more than entertainment.
Now to 3 global stories we're watching very closely tonight. Story number 1. The MV Hondias's last passengers have now left the hantavirus-hit cruise ship as health authorities continue to investigate the incident. For weeks, the world has followed the agonizing journey of the MV Hondias, a Dutch expedition cruise ship that became the center of a rare and deadly hantavirus outbreak in the South Atlantic. 3 passengers died. This weekend, the last passengers finally disembarked in Tenerife in the Canary Islands. A carefully managed evacuation across 19 nationalities and 6 continents. Let's take a listen.
The last passengers to be evacuated from the hantavirus-struck cruise ship have arrived in the Dutch city of Eindhoven, where they will be quarantined. The MV Hondias departed Tenerife for the Netherlands on Monday after the final 6 passengers and some crew members disembarked. Authorities have confirmed 3 more positive cases linked to the deadly outbreak, an American and a French national who had previously returned home, as well as 1 Spaniard who provisionally tested positive and is quarantining in Madrid. So in total, there are 7 confirmed cases and 2 suspected infections. Our reporter Vincent McAvenny is outside Arrow Park Hospital here in the UK, where 22 British nationals are currently self-isolating.
Well, those 22 passengers and crew that were brought here are now halfway through this initial 72-hour evaluation period. They have, the BBC understands, all been tested for the virus. They're continuing to be assessed as they await results. And then the plan is that from Thursday, depending on their living situation, they'll either go home to quarantine or they'll go to a special block on this hospital site where they will have to spend 42 days under quarantine. So far, we're told no one is showing any symptoms here that they have the virus. But as you mentioned there, the final 6 passengers disembarked from that ship yesterday. There were 4 Australians, 1 Briton and 1 Kiwi who came off the ship, which is now headed back with around 25 staff on board and 2 medical personnel to its home port in the Netherlands. Of the others, though, that we know about, the sort of 7 confirmed cases, 1 of those was confirmed when they returned back to the United States. Another was back in France. We've heard from French health authorities that the woman that was infected, she is being treated in a Paris hospital. She's said to be in a stable condition. There has been, though, some alarming news from the Netherlands, where it's understood 12 medical personnel are having to quarantine now because there were mistakes made in the biocontainment procedures when they took blood samples and urine samples from an infected person being treated there. So they are all now being tested as well and being quarantined as a precaution. But the message from health authorities here in the UK is that there is a very low risk to the public, that they have the right procedures in place, and that this is a known virus. It's not like COVID a couple of years ago. They know what they're doing with it, and they say only close personal contact will lead to it being spread. And at the moment, everything here is under control.
The story is also a reminder of how quickly public health scares can create risk for cruise-dependent tourism economies like those in the Caribbean. All right, moving you to the war between Iran, the United States and Israel, because with the conflict starting on February 28, we're now hoping to get a ceasefire. But U.S. President Donald Trump has dismissed Iran's ceasefire plan as, quote, a piece of garbage, signaling that a diplomatic breakthrough may still be far away. And for countries like Jamaica, that could mean continued pressure on oil, shipping, and the cost of imported goods. Let's take a listen.
Donald Trump's view of Iran's response to the latest U.S. peace proposal, it is stupid, a piece of garbage. The Iranian leadership, lunatics. The month-long ceasefire, he says, unbelievably weak.
I would say the ceasefire is on massive life support, where the doctor walks in and says, "Sir, your loved one has approximately a 1% chance of living."
This with diplomacy at an apparent standstill, the warfare bringing a global energy crisis, and that continuing U.S. demand that Iran must reopen the Strait of Hormuz and give assurances it will end its nuclear program. Iran has said the U.S. demands amount to a surrender and says it will not bow.
Everything we put forward in our proposed text consisted of reasonable and responsible demands and generous proposals.
And so that's what's going on with that ceasefire, or rather, not going on. Finally, we take you to the United Kingdom as political pressure is continuing to build around Prime Minister Keir Starmer, with growing speculation about whether Britain could be heading toward yet another leadership change. Prime Minister Keir Starmer's Labour Party suffered a catastrophic set of results in last week's local elections, losing nearly 1,500 council seats, as the hard-right Reform UK party won more than 1,400. Today, 4 ministers resigned from Keir Starmer's cabinet. Labour members of Parliament are publicly calling for a timeline for his departure. But Starmer has said he will not quit. He says resignation would plunge Britain into chaos. And any prolonged instability in Britain, though, is something that we watch here because it matters to us through trade, remittances, tourism, and Commonwealth relations. So let's take a look at what's happening there and who might replace him.
A growing number of lawmakers from Britain's ruling Labour Party have turned on British Prime Minister Keir Starmer.
Prime Minister, will you resign if Labour lose that?
That's after his party suffered dire local election results, following policy U-turns and political scandals.
I am delighted.
All as populist Nigel Farage's Reform Party made gains. Just 2 years after a landslide national election victory, Starmer has vowed to stay the course.
No, I'm not going to walk away.
And under Labour Party rules, to trigger a leadership challenge requires 20% of the party's lawmakers, that's 81, to unite behind a candidate. So far, no main potential rival has moved against him. But who might be waiting in the wings? One of the favourites to replace Starmer is popular Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham. But he's not a Member of Parliament and would need to become one.
I'm not making any comment.
When a Manchester seat was up for grabs earlier this year, Starmer was blamed for blocking Burnham for standing. Labour lost the seat to the Greens, stoking that criticism. Another potential frontrunner, Angela Rayner, is in no position to mount a challenge either. Rayner is Starmer's former Deputy Prime Minister, but she has yet to fully resolve tax issues that prompted her resignation last year. Wes Streeting, currently Health Minister, is one of Starmer's most ambitious ministers. He has said he'd be keen on the top job, but like Starmer, he's tainted by the appointment of Peter Mandelson as Britain's ambassador to the United States. Streeting was close to Mandelson, who was sacked over his ties to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. Energy Minister Ed Miliband is one of Starmer's most senior cabinet ministers, having already led the Labour Party. His reputation has been rehabilitated since he stood down as its leader.
Britain needs a Labour Party that can rebuild after this defeat.
But his record is still marked by Labour's loss of the 2015 election to the Conservatives. and he has ruled out another leadership bid. If Starmer departs in the coming weeks, Britain will be on its 7th Prime Minister in the past decade, the highest turnover rate in nearly 2 centuries.
7 prime ministers in a decade, something that we're watching to see if it comes to pass in Britain. Now, here's my take. Global instability used to feel distant. The war in the Middle East was something you watched on international news. A cabinet election was something you noticed only when the results were unknown. Standard debate about music was just entertainment. That distance is collapsing. Tonight we've seen how global pressure now moves directly to us in Jamaica, through prices, through politics, through culture, and through public trust. The Bahamas is voting under economic anxiety. Jamaica is arguing about what kind of culture it wants to protect. And households across the region are wondering how much more they can absorb if this global instability continues. For small states, it's no longer about preparing for crisis. It's about learning how to live through constant crisis without losing democratic trust, cultural identity, or economic stability. That is the story. Before we go tonight on Lead Story Prime at 8, old age, new risk. Jamaica's demographic reckoning is now coming.